Dating can be unbelievably frustrating at times. You go on a date and you thought you had a great time, but then she either doesn't text you back, or she pretends to be busy forever, or she says she didn't really feel the spark. Or you're about to schedule a date and she flakes, or you're not getting any matches on dating apps, you're too nervous to go and speak to women, you're caught up in your head. That's in part why I focus so much on state. The importance of energy, the importance of being able to turn confidence and internal emotional certainty on wherever, whenever you want to, without any substance whatsoever. State matters. There's something called state-dependent memory. Have you had that where you're given a presentation at work? A business speech to your employees, your partners, or your manager, and you're just on. Everything is on point. You're making up new distinctions. You're coming up with new sentences in the moment that you didn't even prepare, and it just flows. That experience of flow, maybe you're playing an instrument, and you've had that. Maybe you're playing basketball, or you're rock climbing, or whatever your hobby happens to be. You've experienced flow at times. That is in part due to skill. Yes, there's a skill set that you're lacking when it comes to dating, but there's also something called state-dependent memory. If you're in the right state and you're able to activate that, my goodness, things just flow out of you, and you naturally do a lot of the right things. That's why I have a 50-minute video on my YouTube channel here called Inner Game Mastery that'll help you with that. Go check that out, okay? But state can also be a crutch, which means if you're waiting for yourself to feel perfect all the time before you can do the right thing, you'll never do anything. You sometimes also just have to be able to talk to the lady when you see her, because if you're standing at the gate, you have a window of a couple of minutes, and then she's gone forever, or you're in a Starbucks, she'll disappear. You tell yourself, oh, I might see her at some point. She will be gone. The gods of the game are going to punish you. If you don't do it now, she will disappear. I've had this with women. I'm in a coffee shop, and there's only one entrance. And I thought, well, I'll be able to talk to her in a minute. And I turn around, and she's gone. And there was no way for her to physically disappear somewhere. Well, in reality, there must have been. But there wasn't. She just disappeared. You ever had that where you tell yourself, oh, I'm going to talk to her at some point, and you never see her again? How many times has that happened? How many more times do you want to let your future wife walk by? David, don't you talk about abundance all the time? Yeah, I talk about abundance. There's theoretically an infinite amount of potential more options. There's never any scarcity. You can theoretically always replace her. But time is ticking. If you want to have a family, get to it. Why waste time? So there has to be a way where even if you don't feel perfect in the moment, to still be able to do the right thing and actually introduce yourself, to send the Instagram message, to run the boost on dating apps, or even better, to just do the approach in person. Because how can you call yourself a man if you can't even talk to a woman in person? Oh, but I'm introverted. What are you going to teach your children someday? What are you going to teach your son someday? You know what, son? I was a pussy. Is that the story you'll tell your son someday? You know what? Your mother and I truly aren't happy because I settled for somebody who wasn't right for me. She kind of hates me. She tolerates my existence. You know, that's why we're fighting all the time. I'm looking at an imaginary 6-year-old son whom you're telling that to, and that's why you're not happy, because I'm not happy because I didn't take care of one of the most important areas of your life. Is that the story you want to tell your son someday? Really? Or do you want to be able to say, hey, this was a problem for me, the way it was for any man, 95%, but I made a decision to handle that. Because if there's an obstacle, that must be the way. You're the type of man who looks at obstacles and problems and handles it, aren't you? So why should it be so different in this area? Why would you be so arrogant as to think that the right woman should just come to you? What on earth makes you believe that you deserve an outstanding outcome, like a fulfilling relationship on eye level with an amazing woman that you can share life with, by doing nothing and just waiting? You don't. So how can you get yourself to do the right thing and actually talk to her, even if you don't feel that amazing? Here's the key. Momentum. Even if you don't feel amazing, if you've been going to the gym for several months, you don't actually need that much discipline. You know the difference between the amount of discipline you have to muster if you haven't gone to the gym in a month or two for whatever reason, and if you haven't gone to the gym in 2 days? If you're going regularly and then you don't feel like it, It's a bit of discipline. And you might tell yourself, oh, I'm so disciplined. And you telling yourself you're so disciplined makes you feel good about yourself, so do it. Great, amazing. An empowering self-dialogue, whatever it takes. But actually, it's not that much discipline. It's momentum that's pulling you. Because if you haven't gone in a month or two, it feels so much more difficult. The emotional resistance is so much higher. So if you have momentum at work and you're winning and it's going well, it pulls you. It's pull motivation. Tony Robbins has been talking about that for 40-something years, that if something is pulling you, it's easy and you can sustain that forever, but if you feel like you have to push yourself to do it, that will wear out. Willpower is eventually gone by the end of the day. It then gets replenished through sleep. That's why sleep also matters, by the way, and other rituals, meditation, sauna, gym, you can replenish it, but it runs out eventually. Pull motivation, that lasts forever. So you have to be able to get momentum. The real key to find the right girlfriend or wife is momentum. Why? Well, because you won't find her tomorrow. If you think that your wife is going to be the second date you'll go on or the third date you'll go on, you'll be gravely mistaken. You have to anticipate that there is going to be pain. Some dates won't go that well. You're gonna go on a date. You're gonna make a mistake in the video, and you're gonna stumble over it, and then you're either gonna make it awkward, or you're just gonna keep going, pretend it never happened. You're gonna go on a date with a lady from Hinge who doesn't look anything like what she portrayed herself to look like. And you're like, oh wow, what am I gonna do? By the way, you are allowed to walk away immediately. You're allowed to say, look, you can either say, something came up, I gotta go, I'm sorry. And that is still true. It's vague enough to not hurt her feelings and still authentic. Or you can say, hey, look, Rebecca, this won't make sense for us. I wish you all the best. Take care. You're not under any obligation to grind it out for an hour or two, because if you know in your mind that it's not going to go anywhere, you might as well stop wasting her time and yours. But these things are going to happen. That's why momentum matters, because you're going to have to sustain dating for 3 to 6 months, 9 or 12, whatever. It shouldn't take years, 3 months, 6 months, and you should be done with it. Maybe 9 or 12, but really X amount of months and you should be done with it. But it won't be tomorrow, and there'll be real good wins, and it can actually be really easy if you set up dating apps really well. I have another client who messaged me yesterday or today. It's his first day on dating apps. He's been in the program for a week. First day on apps, already scheduled the first date. So it can be really easy if you know what you're doing and you get the right guidance. It can be easy, but there'll still be pain. There'll still be emotionally uncomfortable and challenging situations that you're going to have to grind through. So momentum pulls you towards it. And it can almost feel like you're walking on water. You've had this in your career or your business. When you're getting that promotion, you're getting that business deal, your business is growing, whatever you happen to be doing. And it just feels amazing because you're winning. You want to work more. You might even sleep less, but you're excited. Woo! That's what you want. How do you get it? Momentum. You might say, David, I get it, momentum. How do I get it? Well, here's the key. You're not going to like the answer, but then I'll give you the key. There's one more step in between that you have to understand. One component, the only thing that creates momentum is a lot of action. Tony Robbins calls it massive action because there's inertia. If you've never gone to the gym in your whole life in the beginning, it takes a lot of work to establish the momentum. 3 months of going to the gym, and then it flows. Doing X amount of approaches, and then it flows. But to go from 0 messages on Instagram, 0 effort on dating, especially 0 approaches, to doing them regularly on a weekly basis, that takes the most amount of effort. That is the massive action that's required. The more action you put in, the more it's going to flow. So to be able to put in massive action and to do hear me now, this is actually beautiful. To be able to take action in the moment when you don't feel like it, it requires momentum. To get momentum, you need action. So action is preceding and it's the consequence of momentum. Congratulations, David. So isn't that a catch-22 or whatever you want to call that? Well, not really, because what allows you to take massive action is state. Here we are again. If you take control of your mental and your emotional state, you're then able to take massive action to then, even when you don't feel like it, you have the momentum that's then going to allow you to do the approach in the moment, even if your state isn't optimal or you haven't slept right or you haven't taken your vitamin D. I'm in Dubai right now, right? I'm usually in Ireland, but I'm in Dubai right now. I was speaking to a friend earlier, and this guy got a lot of money. a lot of money. And he's an amazing person. He's one of the kindest, sweetest people you would ever meet. Super kind, super good person, amazing father, really rich. Doesn't take action. Why? Mindset. Money's not going to do it for you. You need to take control of your mental and your emotional state. Take massive action. Get momentum. And then, even when you don't feel like it, then you'll be able to spontaneously do the approach. But thinking, as a man, that you should be able to do a spontaneous approach without having gone through a phase of taking massive action, gathering momentum, is ridiculous, and you'll punish yourself unnecessarily. So, the key to be able to take action when you're not feeling good is to have gone through a phase of feeling amazing, bringing up your levels of confidence with the right tools, take massive action, and then just reap the rewards of momentum. Momentum is everything. It's just hard in the beginning. That's why mindset matters. And I would love to be able to help you with that. It doesn't have to be me. But if you haven't been able to break the spell of bad relationships, the ones that just end, and you're just not getting yourself to take consistent action, you need mindset. Why is it that there are billionaires who are overweight? How is that possible? How difficult is it not to eat? Or rather, to eat properly, because a 500 caloric deficit per day is not that difficult to sustain if you actually understand nutrition. There's a strategic element, and then there's a mindset component and limiting beliefs. I, last year, went through like a 3 months weight loss phase because I got a little fat. And here's the thing, the one conversation that changed everything for me. For a couple of years, I was a little bit fat because before Corona, I was like training, I was sparring, I was teaching karate, I was moving the whole time. I never understood nutrition, okay? But I was able to eat whatever I wanted because I was moving so much. Then I wasn't moving so much. And I got a little fat. But I've already been with Fernanda, she doesn't care. She calls me her leitãozinho, which is Portuguese for her little pig. But she means it in a cute way. She's like, hey, little pig. Tee-hee. I was like, what on earth's going on? But on the other hand, I didn't really have a motivation to change now, did I? Because she loved me, things are going good. Why? So the belief, the unconsciously held assumption that stopped me from taking the right actions regarding my nutrition, because weight loss is 100% nutrition, it doesn't even have to do anything with sports, even though steps can help. The unconscious assumption was, it's not going to benefit me to lose weight. How is my life going to get any better? Why would I? What changed? I carried that for a couple of years and I had a little bit of a belly. I'd be sitting in Zoom calls grabbing my belly. I didn't like that. So I had a conversation with one of my best friends who's the best and most scientifically minded weight loss coach in Germany. He has a massive brand, amazing guy. And I had a conversation with him. He was in Dublin with me, and no, that was actually via Zoom call. And he goes to me, I told him, bro, how's my life actually going to get any better? Why would I even change? He goes, shut the fuck up. What are you talking about? That's nonsense. Your testosterone is low right now. I didn't even measure it. I never even measured it. I probably should. But it's definitely much lower than what it could be. Because one of the number one things that reduces testosterone is excess body fat. You will feel much better. Your subjective emotional well-being will be much better. Your cognitive performance, everything is going to be better. Your health is going to be better. But most importantly, you will feel it immediately. And when he said the word testosterone, I said, ooh, that triggered me. And he got me. And then we developed a plan, a nutrition plan that we changed, that we had to have the right strategy because I'm a bit of a chocolate addict, so we had to work that in there. So with the right guidance, 3 months one-on-one coaching, boom, I can show you the videos at some point. I had a belly, boom, six-pack, amazing. In 3 months, because I had the right conversations, because my mindset changed. Dating and success in anything really is 80% mindset. There's billionaires who are overweight, not because they don't know how to lose weight, but if you're not doing it, there's something that needs to change within you. And that's what coaching does, by the way. Coaching in a group coaching format or one-on-one is a guided conversation that changes your thoughts and your emotions, your actions change, and your results change. So if you're a man who's doing good in your business, your career, you got a lot of areas handled in your life, but you don't have an amazing woman by your side and you want to find the right woman to share a life with, then click the link below and apply for a free initial consultation. Looking forward to speaking with you soon. Take care.